What is going on, everybody, and welcome back once again. My name is Jordan, also known as JMonster. Thank you for joining me for another replay battle. Today I've got a 5 versus 3 Siege of OSGILIATH, and I will tell you right now, this battle is not lore friendly. So that if that is something that bothers you, evil and good factions, traditionally evil and good factions fighting on the same side, well, this video might bother you a little bit. So fair warning, moving forward. But in any case, take a look at some of the army comps, then we can jump into the battle itself. I hope you guys enjoy it. First army we're looking at today is the forces of Lothlorien, being commanded by Sawbones McTavish Esquire. He's got a couple units of light elven archers, numerous units, I believe about 3 or 4 of the Sylvan Heavy Spears, a few units of Sylvan Heavy Swordsmen, a couple units over here of the Elder Council. These guys are really good. They've got a lot of applications on the battlefield. Naturally, being a javelin unit, they can do a ton of damage, but they also have some of the highest jav damage in the game, weighing in with 20 missile damage. So that's pretty damn nice, and they're actually decent medium-tier spearmen once all is said and done. His general unit consists of a single unit of Sindar Blade Masters, who have fallen a little bit from previous iterations, but these guys are still a force to be reckoned with on the battlefield, and they can hide anywhere, unless you have your general in them, which kind of removes their ability to hide anywhere, which is kind of funny. But nonetheless, when these guys are in close combat, they can do a ton of work. You need to watch out for them around missiles, though. They have very little armor. They have like paper-thin armor. I think that we got another unit of Sindar Blade Masters over here, but I think that does it for his army, except for a single unit of Catapult hanging out way over here on the corner, probably in support of his ally. So yeah, one single unit of Catapult to Sawbones McTavish. Moving on now, we have the forces of Umbar being commanded by Boris Beetle, who actually has a YouTube channel. I don't know if he's posted anything in a while, but he does have some Third Age content up there. So if you guys are interested, I'm going to put a link for you down in the description. You guys can go and check that out on your own time. But in any case, moving on, he's got one unit of Catapult, and naturally being Umbar, he's got a ton of heavy infantry. So he's got a couple units here of the Castamir's Chosen, a unit of Abrazani Martizagar, 2 of them in fact, and 1 unit of Harbingers of Castamir, who are... These guys are really strong, and they've got a huge charge value to boot. On the walls, they're going to be probably the perfect unit that you'd want up there. They're going to be shielded on the approach by that big tower. So yeah, that is good news, Bears. He's got some more forces though over here. Looks like he's opted to split his troops. Now we can move on to the chaff of the Umbar army. We've got a lot of units of Corsairs here, some Corsair Savages, deadly on the charge, very little defense, especially in the way of armor. Also got some more light Corsairs over here, and I think he's got, yes indeed, another unit of Harbingers of Castamir. And we may not be able to see them, but I know he has a unit of the Corsair Blackguard, who are a sexy javelin unit with multiple HP, making them, I would say, much more survivable and just generally useful because of that survivability than other javelin units in the game. But that does it for Boris's army. Let's go ahead and let's move on to one of his allies. Moving on now to the Orcs of Gundabad, being commanded by Stewed Fungus. He is bringing quite a lot of... He's got a nice mix of chaff and of elites and things like that. He's got some Orc Halberdiers, some Rude Hour Berserkers, who I think Gundabad is actually losing in the next patch, because Rude Hour is going to be its own faction, which is looking really cool, by the way. If you guys are interested in keeping up with the progress, I'd recommend that you check out the Discord. Obviously, it's a link in the description, there always is. But there's been a lot of new pictures and things like that, especially for the new Elven faction, Lindon, which is currently being worked on by Send of the Dark Cloud, so yeah, go check it out if you're interested. But in any case, got some Witch Realm Scourge Raiders here, some much-needed AP on the Gundabad line, some Guardians of Karn Doom. I really like the Guardians of Karn Doom. They're very reliable, heavy infantry, 2 HP, a lot of armor, and I think they're getting a light buff. I think they're getting a buff in terms of their numbers, but their stats are being decreased ever so slightly. But they may also be getting an extra HP, if I recall. I don't know if that's been changed or not on the test build. But still, really cool, and they're actually also going to have a new look in the next patch in 0.92. But let's move on to the rest of his army. Got some Witchers over here. Everyone, well, I wouldn't say everyone. Some people hate the Witchers. I personally think they're really cool and have very interesting uses on the battlefield, assuming that you can be clever with them. These guys are very easily killed by cavalry, by infantry, by arrows. They will get murderized by anything, so you need to protect them. But if you can, oh, the damage they do. They toss giant fireballs. It just incinerates like blocks of infantry at a time. It's beautiful. Over here we got some Witch Realm Blackguard serving as the General's bodyguard unit. Some Rude Hour Savages, very sexy. Some Goblin Trackers over here. Some light kind of early tier archers. More Halberdiers, more Rude Hour Berserkers. And I think that just about does it. No, we've got some Goblin Trackers here. And a unit of Mountain Trolls. And yet more Rude Hour Savages. They're very inexpensive to bring. Obviously, they're shock troops with those 2-handed axes. But they don't have a lot of staying power. However, they are AP, and they do have, as I mentioned, a big charge bonus. Moving on over here to one of the stranger members of this alliance, I would say. Fighting alongside the Orcs of the Misty Mountain, or not Orcs of the Misty Mountains, the Orcs of Gundabad and such, we have the forces of Dol Amroth being commanded by Orc Hunter. He's got, I believe, 2 units of Tier 3 Marksmen, who are, actually, I really like the Tier 3 Marksmen. They are a mainline, I would say that they are a mainline skirmish infantry for Dol Amroth. They've got a lot of armor, so they stand up to counterfire really well, despite the fact that they lack a shield. But yeah, very, very effective for what it costs to bring them, and they can wear down enemy archers very well. Got some Dol Amroth archers over here, the standard kind of rank and file archer of Dol Amroth, and Elon Halberdiers, who are very strong right now in 0.91. I think they're getting a slight nerf in 0.92, but I think a lot of things are. Actually, a lot of the stats are going to be changing quite significantly, so I don't know, this advice may not be all that useful to you in the near future. But in any case, for the time being, the Elon Halberdiers is very strong from the front, do a lot of damage to infantry and cavalry. Got a strong force here of Dol Amroth men-at-arms to form the main lines. Dol Amroth Spear Militia, I believe he's got a massive number of Swan Knights, in fact. I think he's got 2 units of Swan Knights, the dismounted Swan Knights. They're not quite as strong as the Talon Knights, but still a really nice budget pick. And 1 unit, of course, of the Haven Guard, the beautiful Haven Guard, who are very, very deadly with their 3 HP and huge armor and attack values. He's also got some Coastal Wardens right here, a little bit of jab power, definitely useful in a siege battle, and, of course, what siege is complete without siege weaponry, so we've got a trebuchet right here. One of the cool things about the 0.92 patch, I'm sorry, I have to talk up the 0.92 patch because I'm really excited about it, and I've been seeing a lot of things coming out of production and in the testing channel that makes me really excited. So we're going to be seeing some new siege engines as well. Isengard, I believe, is going to have some unique siege engines in the form of ladders and a new ballista, which is just really cool. But I think that does it for the attackers. No, perhaps it's a 4v3 and not a 5v3 after all. Well, that's my bad. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to get your hopes up. But in any case, that does it for the attacking armies. Let's go ahead and let's see what the defenders are bringing to bear today. The first defensive army we're going to look at today is the forces of Gondor, being commanded by Holy Country Enterprise. He's got, I believe, 2 to 3 units of Gondor archers. Most of them are arrayed here on this wall. It's the first line of defense. Down in the city proper, he's got 2 units of Fountain Guard, the 2-handed kind of Fountain Guards, the more offensively oriented ones. 1 here, 1 on the other gatehouse. You can see them right there. Couple units of Citadel Guard arranged very similarly to the Fountain Guard. 1 unit of Citadel Guard here, 1 in the back lines over on the other end. Naturally, he's bringing some Gondor infantry as his main line. I believe he's got about 2 to 4 units of them. I can't remember exactly how much. He's also got some more elites hanging out over here in the center. 1 unit of Shielded Fountain Guard, who are facing the wrong direction entirely, but I will judge. I love the Shielded Fountain Guard. These guys are, in my opinion, I would say that they are better than the other Fountain Guard. There's not a big difference in attack between them, and they've both got AP and, like I said, similar attack values. But these guys have way more defense, especially against arrows. So I would say that they would be my personal preference to bring over the regular Fountain Guard. Also got a unit of Wardens of the White Tower, a super heavy pick for Gondor, roughly equivalent to the dismounted Dunedain Knights for Arnor. I think they're a little bit weaker, but they're very, very similar in stats and in capabilities just generally. I think that just about does it for most of Gondor's army. They're really largely concentrated on the other side. So let's move on now to the forces of the High Elves, being commanded by Starling. He's got a couple, I believe, 2 units of Cinder Blade Masters, so the full complement there. He's also got some Eladra Storm Raiders. Everybody loves these guys. They're getting a buff, actually a really big buff in 0.92. They're going to have an extra HP, and they're going to be more expensive, but all around they're going to be a much more dangerous unit to have to face down. Also got some Elder Runway Swordsmen over here to the tune of, I believe, 2 units. Oh, what do you know? There's some more Gondor units over here as well. A couple units of Gondor Spearmen and 1 unit of Gondor Infantry. I think it may actually be like... No, there's 2 units of Gondor Spearmen in there for sure. More Elder Runway Swordsmen for the High Elves. Also got some Bow Quendi hanging out up here on the walls. And I think he's also got some Sword Quendi over at the main gate to back up Gondor. Yeah, 1 unit of Sword Quendi there. And look at this. Hiding over here on the side of the gatehouse, we have a unit of Imladris Guards. These guys mean business. They are... I would say that they're the best pike unit in the game. I think that honor belongs to the Arnor Gate Guards, basically uniquely by virtue of their 2nd hit point. But the Imladris Guard are deadly. These guys are very offensively minded pikemen who generally tend to be a little bit, I would say, weaker than other infantry units. Their biggest strength comes from their their ability to keep you away from them and just poke you to death with a very long spear spray. But the Elandris Guard, high attack values, like 27, so it's up there. These guys will slaughter you. They naturally cost a lot to offset that fact. But I think that's most of Starling's army. I don't think he has any more archers up on the wall. No, it doesn't look like it. Oh, actually, no, I'm totally wrong. He's got a couple units here of the Elder Rinway archers and one unit somewhere of the Noldor Elder Nobles, which I believe is where his general's bodyguard is hanging out. But that does it for Starling. So let's now move on to the third and final defending army, the forces of Dale, being commanded by General WVPM, who I'm seeing in a lot of games lately, but I haven't actually had the pleasure of playing with at all, ever yet, but I'm sure that will change. In any case, he is bringing some longbowmen. I believe he's got about 2 to 3 units of them. He's also got some Ravenian hunters up here. These are a javelin unit, because who doesn't love javelins in a siege? It's just such a good idea to bring them. There's a lot of opportunities for them to be really effective. And the Ravenian hunters are a cheap unit of javies that can punch well above their price point if they're allowed to toss their payloads. He's also got a couple units of Athala Rangers to the tune of, I believe, about 2. Some more Ravenian hunters over here, and I know he's got a catapult and a whole bunch of other heavy infantry as well. So 1 unit of catapult right here to back up the Gondorian spear wall with the Citadel Guard and the Fountain Guard. He's also got a ton of Barding Herd, who, they're not the best, and they're still not the best, but they are a lot better than they have been in previous iterations of the game. So I think the Barding Herd now definitely worth it. Solid defensive infantry. They will need to be backed up, however. A lot of Dale's units definitely need backup. They synergize well with one another, so that's just Dale's thing. They're not elves. They won't hold uniquely on their own, but otherwise they are very strong. Moving on over here, I believe this is the General's Bodyguard for Dale. He's got some Royal Guard, multiple HP. These guys are also AP, as they are General's Bodyguard unit. So AP missiles, very, very sexy. Especially these longbows. I mean, they have incredible range. You can use them to snipe some pretty high priority targets. I got some more longbowmen hanging out over here. A couple units of Dale's Swordmasters. The Swordmasters, not the greatest shock infantry, I think mostly by virtue of their lack of AP. But still, these guys are really strong and will do a ton of work against chaff units like orcs, for example. More longbows, some Rovenian spearmen. These guys are, I don't see them very often, and there's a very good reason for that. It's because they're kind of awful, but that is fine. They do serve a purpose as cannon fodder. Some units of Bardian Marksmen over here. Dale definitely has a big force. 2 Bardian Marksmen and another unit of longbows. So Dale very heavy on the skirmish, which is hardly surprising. Actually, he's got 3 units of Bardian Marksmen. That's my bad. So I think that just about does it, except for, oh, there's some Gondor units over here, and some Dale units as well. Got some Lake Town Spears, and a unit of Gondor Militia, and a Trebuchet for Holy Country Empire. So that just about does it. Let's go ahead and let's jump into the replay. So we can see that the attackers are going to waste no time in charging towards those lines. We've got some Sylvan Heavy Swordsmen here, manning ladders and manning siege towers, just trudging forward towards that Dale skirmish line. A lot of fire being directed towards the towers. Not going to be as effective as it would be otherwise, but still reaping a terrible toll amongst the Sylvan Heavy Swordsmen. They are very weak to missiles. Elves generally are quite weak to missiles and artillery fire and things like that, but the Sylvan Heavy Swordsmen, due to their lack of shield, are especially so. Over here you can see the Cinar Blade Masters just taking a heavy amount of punishment. You can see that lack of armor really being a big problem for them. However, the Elven Catapults teaming up with, I believe, the catapult of their ally, Umbar, focusing on the same section of wall. Got to collapse that real fast, and unfortunately, these little Dale Rangers here are... I just ignore that. There's nobody in the town center. I don't know what the game's problem is with that. But the Athala Ranger's not going to be able to move out of the way in time. Boom! Collapse right there. Big reveal. A bunch of dead Athala Rangers. Getting smushed there under that rubble as it falls apart. I love that. I love the collapsing rubble. It's something that you don't really see in the newer Total Wars. That rubble's kind of been phased out in favor of like a big puff of smoke, and then suddenly the wall's gone. Much prefer this one. So we can see Starling moving up some of his Cinar Blade Masters to allow the Athala Rangers the opportunity to retreat off that wall unmolested. There's a lot of Casimir Chosen going to be pouring up that ladder into the face of the Cinar Blade Masters. Not going to be an easy fight for the Cinar Blade Masters at all. Over here we can see some Cinar Blade Masters from the other side charging quickly through that gap. Gondor moving in quite heavily to plug that gap. These poor Cinar Blade Masters getting charged in the flank and the rear. Meanwhile, in the gap, things gonna get ugly. Yeah, those Gondor infantry are there, taking on the brunt of the Lothlorien spearmen. But this is where we see one of the big failings of the elves. They do not have a lot of mass, very easily pushed around. So those shield-walled Gondorian infantry are going to be able to just push their way in there and do a lot of damage. Look at that. Yeah, just getting right in there, surrounding those spearmen. Normally this is a fight that the spearmen would do reasonably well at. They've got a lot of melee defense and pretty decent attack as well. But the fact that the Gondor infantry was able to push their way in there, break up that formation, is going to prove to be the decisive factor in this engagement for the Sylvan Elves. Or the Lothlorien Elves, I should say. Umbar going to move in with some reinforcements. A ton of Corsairs moving in. This is a big commitment to try and check the advance of one unit of Gondor infantry. Normally we don't see these guys do very well, but damn is that that high mass and that shield wall really paying off for them in this instance. Up here we can see some Casimir's Chosen getting stuck in with the Sindar Blade Masters. Again, not going to be an easy fight for the Sindar Blade Masters. If we take a look here, see some of them already beginning to fall. And more of those Casimir's Chosen pushing onto the wall. Now they have established a beachhead. They're going to be able to push back the Sindar Blade Masters, bisecting the unit and preventing the whole force from being brought to bear at once. Moving on over here, you can see Umbar just attacking the walls all across the front. More Casimir's Chosen getting into some more Sindar Blade Masters. Over here, the Ravanian Hunters. Oh, looks like another piece of wall collapsing on the other end. The assault is beginning as the forces push across the river. We'll take a look in just a moment. But so far, the forces of Umbar really doing work here. Those poor Ravanian Hunters needed to not be here, to be pulled back. If they could have held these guys in place with some chaff and used the skirmishers down here on the ground, damn, could they have done a lot of damage to those Aberzanim. They would have been able to wipe that unit out very, very swiftly, and that's a really nice trade-off for the cost between the two units. Over here, Imladra's Storm Raiders fighting hard against Harbingers of Castamere. With their 3 HP, the Harbingers definitely have the edge. They've got a lot of attack value as well, which is going to stack up quite nicely with the high melee defense values of the Imladra Storm Raiders. You need high attack to be able to beat down Elven units, and this is exactly what the Doctor called for. Down. Oh, another piece of wall collapsing. See some more dead Ravanian Hunters. So we've got some High Elves here trying to lend a little bit of ranged firepower to their allies on the wall. Those poor Ravanian Hunters just being chased around, butchered by the Aberzanim. But with the addition of those High Elven Archers, that's going to reap a terrible toll amongst the ranks of the Aberzanim and Ardi Zagar, because they're not going to be able to get off there quick enough. And those High Elven Archers, the Elder Enemy Archers, are AP. So they are just going to butcher these guys. You can already see these multiple HP units beginning to fall. Oh yeah, more and more of them. Yeah, it's a really nice place for those Elder Enemy Archers to be. Let's take a look over here at the gap. Looks like the Gondor forces have managed to repulse the High Elves. Look at that, just a sea of dead Sylvan Elves. That one unit of Gondor infantry has more than paid for itself. These guys are heroes of the Southern Kingdom. Over here we can see more and more of the Southern Raiders pouring through the gaps in the line. So we got some of the Sword Quendi here moving in to take their position at the breach. This is going to be no problem for them. The Corsair Savages really mostly effective against heavily armored units that rely on their armor. But the Elves here, that's all melee defense, baby, and that is not going to be a fight that's in the favor of the Corsair Savages. And they're just getting pummeled by the Dale Archers in the back. Got some Othala Rangers there. Those are the ones that were on the wall earlier, managing to escape alongside another unit of Othala Rangers with some militia to back them up. Look at that. Look at the amount of damage they've done to the Corsairs already. These Corsairs, having had enough, are going to charge through the gap, getting stuck in with the Sword Quendi. But there's lots of reinforcements here. You got some Eldarin with swordsmen able to, because of their central position, able to reinforce on either end, depending on what they need. Oh man, we got some Javies over here. The Elder Council reaping a terrible toll amongst the Gondor Spearmen. Yeah, now is a good time to pull these guys back. They're just getting massacred here, and really not going to amount to too much. Let's take a look at how things are going over on the other end. We'll say the Orcs of Gundabad have moved in force. You can see a lot of loose formation units here. They're trying to avoid some of that oncoming skirmish fire. A lot of Snaga Archers here. I guess I missed the Snaga Archers in the army introduction section. But you can just see them pouring fire in here into the Fountain Guard, who are very weak to that sort of thing. They have decent armor, so they will stand up to those lower tier archers fairly well. But normally this would be a big problem for the Fountain Guard. Over here we can see some expendable Orc Halberdiers alongside some Dole Amroth Spear Militia moving in to fight the Citadel Guard. This is going to weaken the Citadel Guard slowly over time, but the Citadel Guards will begin to take a lot of casualties just through the attrition. Oh, up here, looks like got some Rudar Savages managing to get through the breach and up onto the wall, putting a lot of pressure on those Gondorian archers who have almost been completely wiped out. This is something that I've noticed here amongst the defenders, is that they've been a little bit careless, I think, with their skirmish units. We saw it earlier with the Ravanian Hunters, and we're seeing it now with the Gondor Archers. It would be a good idea to try and pull these guys back and not let them die needlessly. You can see Rudar really committing here. The Orcs of Gundabad, I should say, really committing, looking to overwhelm this first line really, really quickly. You can see the Ravanian Spearmen being brought to bear against the forces of the Orcs, just trying to add a little bit of numbers and weight to the Citadel Guard. So far, the Citadel Guard holding well, but they're now getting flanked by a unit of Rudar Savages. Got some Dalian forces moving up, a block of the Laketown Spears moving in to try and hold things down here. A lot of skirmish fire pouring into this area for these lightly armored units like the Laketown Spearmen and the Ravanian Spearmen. That is going to be a big problem, especially now with the addition of these Rudar Berserkers. These guys are very much anti-infantry focused, and they're going to do a ton of work. They're going to be able to keep themselves relatively fresh and safe thanks to the large amount of chaff here to protect them from fatigue. Those Rudar Berserkers trying to wrap around the flank, get into the Fountain Guard and flank them. Not a bad idea, not a bad idea at all. Over here we can see the Imladris Guard holding down the line. Some of those Rudar Savages looking like maybe they... No, I think they might have just charged straight through this little opening into this unit of pikes. Imladris Guard very handily dealing with this small pocket of isolated Savages.
Our enemy has command of the castle.
Yeah, things looking pretty grim over here for the defenders, I would say. They definitely don't have the quality of infantry that they need to stand up to this for too much longer. Oh, what do we got over here? Looks like some of the Dole Amroth men-at-arms getting cut down by a nice catapult hit. Orc Hunter going to think a little bit better of it, bring them over here behind the gatehouse where they're a little bit better protected from that artillery piece. Not a bad idea at all. Ooh. Oh, that's going to be a lot of friendly fire. Definitely not what they want. Easily as many of the Laketown Spearmen dying as the Rudar Savages, although that did punch a gigantic hole in the Gundabad line, which is actually getting pushed back surprisingly enough, despite their numbers. Yeah, those Orc Halberdiers proving no match for the Rovanian Guard and the Laketown Spearmen, who are backing up the Citadel Guard, who are a very good holding unit. Dale now committing a unit of Barding Herd to try and fill in the gap that they just created, and probably to check the advance of those Snow Trolls from Gundabad, which I didn't even see they had either. Don't worry, there'll be pictures in the army composition screen, so you guys will see all that anyway. Yeah, those Snow Trolls just doing work there against the Laketown Spearmen. You can see a lot of them falling in battle. These brave warriors trying to stand their ground against those monstrous trolls. It's a lot of savages. That it looks like the ram here that took down the gate went down in a literal blaze of glory from a little bit of friendly fire. I think from a catapult unit way in the back here. I think it was actually the Trebuchet of Dol Amroth killing his own ram. At least he killed it after it broke the gate. I mean, it's done its job. It's not really needed anymore. Yeah, but over here at the gatehouse, the Gondorian defenses have yet to be tested. Just a little bit of skirmish fire coming in. Some nice enfilading shots coming into the Gondorian Spearmen. I think there's some infantry mixed in there as well. Pretty good idea. This is a very tempting target, I would say. Let's move on over to the other side and see how the fights are progressing in the choke point. Well, looks like the Sword Quentin have got a little bit ahead of themselves. Yeah, they're going to have a bad time here. You can see that they did a lot of damage to the Corsair Savages. A lot of dead Umbar warriors here. A lot of dead Corsairs and the Savages as well. But the Sword Quentin at this point, I would say they've paid for themselves, but you don't want to throw... Again, when you're the defenders, you are usually down on money. You don't want to throw away lives needlessly. And the Sword Quendi are pretty good light infantry. Actually, I'd say they're some of the best light infantry in the game. Certainly the most cost-effective. Now you see some of the Bardian Marksmen look like they're out of ammo. Charging into battle against the Corsair Savages. That's going to be a much better fight for the Corsair Savages. The Bardian Marksmen have significantly lower melee defense than the Sword Quendi. Out here you can see just archer fire being traded back and forth over the walls. The skirmishing forces of Dale and now the High Elves as well have moved in to put some serious hurt on the High Elven forces. Looks like they're taking on, I think they're going after the Galadrim Veteran Warriors. Honestly, not a bad idea at all. The Eldarinway ammo is very valuable, and you want to pick some high-quality targets if you're going to use it up. And these Galadrim Warriors definitely asking for it. That multiple HP, they normally stand up very well to other archers, but with the high damage and the AP of the Eldarinway skirmishers, that's going to be a nice matchup. Over here in the gap, it looks like the Royal Guard, the Dalish General Bodyguard, backed up by what remains of Starling's Sindar Blade Masters, who are taking a lot of damage from incoming skirmish fire, are pushing out of the walls. It's aggressive and commendable, but honestly, it's... well, you know what? In this case, it is totally worth it, because the Royal Guard here and the Sindar Blade Masters vastly outclass these units. The Elder Council, they're good spearmen, but spearmen are not anti-infantry. And over here, we just got a lot of Corsairs. That's going to be an ugly fight for those light units in close combat. Luckily, the Subbles McTavish has moved in with his second unit of Elder Royal Council, going to toss some enfilading shots all along the axis of this Royal Guard unit. And that is going to prove to be a very deadly situation for those heavily armored Royal Guardsmen. I like this, though. WVPM moved right up with his longbows, got them right in the gap, and is able to support his infantry. Although he's charging out now. Maybe they're out of ammunition. Doesn't look like it, though. They've still got their bows. So, micro mistake, perhaps. Definitely not worth it. The longbows are absolutely awful in melee. Instead, it'd probably be a good idea to move them up here onto one of the gaps while he still has an opportunity to do so. Onto one of the walls, I should say, not the gaps. Over on this thing, got a lot of Corsair archers here from Boris Beetle, who apparently I missed as well. A lot of skirmishing fire going into, I think it's probably the Eldarinway archers. Absolutely. These guys they have decent armor. I think they've got like 7 or so armor, which is pretty good, enough to stand up to medium tier archers like the Corsair bowmen. But mass volley fire like that, it is going to claim lives. You can see a few of them dropping there, and every life lost from the Eldarinway archers is a loss that is dearly felt because they are so strong. Over here, it looks like the High Elves have managed to push back initial incursions from the... I can't quite tell who that is. I think that's the Corsairs. Oh, there goes the Dalish General getting scythed down by Sawbone's unit of Royal Council. Actually, no, maybe it wasn't the Royal Council at all. Oh, no, it's the Blackguard who have been brought to bear. Damn, they're going to do a lot of damage. And indeed, they already have. Looks like Dale being real aggressive here, pushing out with some Bardian Marksmen and his Sword Masters of Dale. Oh, the Sword Masters really not in a good position, though. They're going to take heavy casualties from those Corsair savages. Not savages, the Blackguard. But yeah, this is where the Dalish General was lost, over here in this gap. I think I said it was over there, but no, that's definitely a mistake. The Elder Royal Guard, having now tossed their payloads, are going to charge into battle against the severely weakened Royal Guards. Looks like... Is that the Dalish Catapult? Whose Catapult is this? Oh, the Elvish Catapult on the Sawbones McTavish, perhaps getting a little bit too cocky. Trying to move in and get some close, kind of point-blank shots into the Dalish Blom as it moved out of the Citadel. But unfortunately, it's going to find itself caught out in the open by some longbowmen who... They'll do work, but unfortunately... Well, they'll do work against the Catapult in any case, but unfortunately for the longbowmen, they just got spooked by the arrival of a ton of Corsairs. Eldarinway archers here looking like they're out of ammunition. Going to hold the line against the Corsairs, because give those longbows a chance to fall back and reform. Let's take a look at how things are progressing on the other end. Looks like another sally here. I'm loving the aggressive play, but it's not always a good idea. Although in this case, Fountain Guard versus Snaga, oh, that's going to be ugly. The biggest danger to these guys really is that Dol Amroth still has a trebuchet just across the river, and they can use that to great effect. The Snaga, if they hit them, no big deal. If they hit the Fountain Guard, though, that's a big loss for the defenders. Oh, somebody's general just died. The Dalish General, perhaps? Another general has fallen. I'm not too sure whose it was, though. No, it wasn't the Dalish General. It was somebody else's. Coastal Wardens here from Orc Hunter. Oh, I know exactly what they're going after. They want to get a piece of that Fountain Guard. Oh, yeah, they do. This is a perfect opportunity. Whoa. Oh, my goodness. I don't know what happened there, but a whole bunch of Goblin Trackers just got flattened by their own siege tower. Absolute wreckage here out front of the gate, but I know exactly what those Dol Amroth Coastal Wardens are about. Yeah, they want to toss it into these bunched up Fountain Guard. Oh, come on. Do it. Do it. Well, some counterfire here from the Gondorian archers up there on the ramparts. This is actually not a bad way to deal with the javelin units in the game. Pardon me. If you can inflict serious enough casualties to the javelins, then they will constantly be reforming and not actually firing their missiles. So it's a little bit, I don't know, it sucks to do to people, but it's a gameplay mechanic. There's really no way around it, and obviously you don't want to let them just toss their javelins into you for no reason. Over here we can see the Orcs of Gundabad, their Witch Realm Blackguard, charging into battle against the Fountain Guard. That's going to be an easy fight for the Blackguard. The Blackguard are sword infantry versus what is technically a spear unit in the form of the Fountain Guard. Fountain Guard have already been worn down just a little bit by the Snogga, so that's going to be no problem, easy peasy for the Witch Realm Blackguard. Oh, so we got some nice Witcher shots here into a huge concentration of Gondorian forces, some Citadel Guard in there, along with some Gondorian spears. You know, I don't know if I would have used the ammo on just spearmen. Maybe some of the more expensive Gondorian units, like the more offensively minded ones. But hey, do what you got to do. The Witchers are, as I said, a little bit hard to use, so you got to take your opportunities as they come. Up here on the top, looks like we got some Niverdale Rangers, who I think were invisible. That's probably why I didn't see them. Hanging out here on top of the ramparts, raining fire down into the defenders. They are AP missiles as well, for the time being in any case. So against the Elder Runaway Swordsmen, and even the Fountain Guard. Yes, the Fountain Guard, with their shield value, it's not even going to matter because AP missiles ignore shield values. So this is going to be shooting fish in a barrel or ducks in a pond. Oh, those Witchers just blasting holes here in the defending lines. Things looking real ugly. Another big shot coming in. Oh, not as deadly as it could have been. Oh, that one, though, more than made up for it. It's a lot of dead Fountain Guard. They may actually rout. That's a lot of damage, and a lot of fire damage at that. Oh, they're just getting massacred. I don't think those Witchers have too much more ammo, but holy crap is that painful. Yeah, the defenders definitely should have been cognizant of that Witcher threat and kept some units, some bowmen specifically in reserve to try and deal with them. I've seen a lot of unfortunate mistakes so far from the defenders, especially when bringing those longbows outside when they didn't need to be out there, that I think are really costing them a lot here as we move in to the mid-game. Over on this end, we have the General's Bodyguard of Starling, his Noldor Elder Nobles, just moving from place to place, looking to try and fill in any gaps as they are created. Oh, what do we got over here? Some counter fire from the... Oh, beautiful. Counter fire from, I think that's a Dalish artillery piece, doing a lot of damage to those Dalamarth archers, blowing a huge hole here. So it's a little bit of tit for tat there. I mean, although I will say the attackers definitely won out in terms of efficiency by losing that many Fountain Guard and the Elder Runaway Swordsmen as well. Moving in over to the center. Elder Runaway Swordsman shifting around, trying to find a good place for their deployment, probably looking to fill in any gaps in the line. More longbowmen charging out the front here. Wow, look at this. They have done so much work against the Umbar Chaff. Like, Cinder Blade Masters and all that, and the Royal Guard and things like that. They are actually going to win this fight. Looks like they've managed to silence the Umbar Catapult as well. Oh my goodness, the defenders just massacring the attackers on this end. And I think that's both of the armies. Yes, indeed, the Lothlorien player and the Umbar player looking like they've been almost entirely wiped out. Let's take a look up here on the walls. Oh man, we can see those Elder Runaway archers firing from that bottom level into the Umbar forces as they came up onto the walls. Has just done so much damage. And there was, of course, the welcome party waiting for the Abrazani Nardizagar as they dismounted from that rampart. There's just a big pile of dead elite Umbar infantry right there. So I think it's probably safe to say at this point that the Lothlorien elves and Umbar have all but been wiped out. There's a few stragglers here and there, some Lothlorien light archers, got some Galadrim veteran warriors here as well. But for the most part, it's been a nightmare for them. Ooh, some nice artillery hits over here. Rudar Berserkers, they're still alive! We saw them earlier fighting against the Fountain Guard. Somehow they've managed to make it in to this late point in the battle. But it is just carnage here in the streets. Looks like the defenders have really given as good as they've gotten. And indeed, they are actually ahead by about 4%. You want to probably be more percentage ahead than that because there's so many more attackers than there are defenders. But despite the mistakes, they have done a great job at just murderizing the attacking armies. Over on this end, looks like we got some Gondor Spearmen and Infantry pushing out against the Witch Realm Blackguard. Ooh, I don't know. There's a lot of numbers here from Gondor, but normally the Blackguard very strong. But with the addition of the Imladris Guard mixed in there, maybe, just maybe, they're going to be able to push this bodyguard unit back. Although with the addition of the Adelon Halberdiers, It's going to be a close one. Moving on to here, looks like there's some fierce fighting between the Imladris Guard and some of the Rudar Savages, and the Rudar Savages definitely got the worst of it. Oh, God, I don't know what happened there, but that is brutal. Probably some friendly fire from the looks of things, unless, say, a very beautiful trebuchet shot came right through that, that little 5-hole there and just massacred a huge number of Gondorians. Yeah, just out here outside the gatehouse, it is another massacre. Really, the attackers nowhere to be seen at this point. I think a lot of the forces like Gundabad and such have actually expired at this point. Coastal Wardens tossing their javelins into this isolated unit of Fountain Guard out here, along with some Gondorian archers, getting cut down by those javs and the Athellan Halberdiers. But still, I think the only one who's got an army left is Dol Amroth. Yeah, see a quick look over here at some of the reserves that they still have, and they are significant. We got Haven Guard, we got Dismounted Swan Knights, some Tirithir Wardens, who are really reliable spearmen with like 2 HP. They're not great offensively, but damn, will they hold the line for a long time. Yeah, all the elite of Dol Amroth is still intact, whereas the defenders, I think, have been heavily worn down by the other 3 attacking armies. So it's a wise strategy on the part of Dol Amroth. He is kind of leaving his allies out to dry a little bit. Let's find out where a little bit of the action is right now. But ultimately, I think that is a strategy that is going to be very, very sound and could potentially win the game. Yeah, it's all quiet here. Just not a lot of fighting, except over here at the gatehouse. Looks like we got some of the Corsair Blackguards fighting hard against what remains of the Bardian Marksmen, and some Dale Swordmasters and the Eldurinway Archers. It's hard to say. The Corsair Blackguards definitely have the offensive stats to do a lot of damage, and now with the addition of some Galadrim veteran warriors coming in from behind to support those elite javs, I don't know. I think that's going to be enough to turn the tide of this engagement around and isolate and destroy yet another pocket of the defending infantry. What do we got over here? Some Eldurinway Swordsmen. A large commitment of Eldurinway Swordsmen. Still 43 of them left in the unit. I think is that it for the defenders, though? I don't know. They may still have some other units elsewhere. Yeah, I don't know. It's maybe the Eldurinway Swordsmen will be enough to beat back those Galadrim veteran warriors. Maybe. Down here, let's we got some Eldurinway some Noldor Elder Nobles. I don't know whose general that is. That might have been Umbar fighting over there at the gate, the breach in the walls. But these Noldor Elder Nobles doing work against the Lamroth Men at Arms. These guys are AP, so they're just going to slice through these guys like it's no problem. And then they'll be able to come in from the rear and hack down the Rudar Berserkers and the Athellan Halberdiers and such. Looks like Gondor might be falling back. Either that or they were massacred by Dol Amroth. Taking a look at the ground there, I'm going to say that they were probably massacred. Very unfortunate. I thought they had the numbers there to carry the day, but apparently it just wasn't enough. Let's see what we got over here at the breaches. Eldurinway Swordsmen taking on those... Oh, man, they've done work against those veteran warriors. Now down to a meager 11, getting hacked down by those elite Noldor Swordsmen. Out here, it looks like some of the victorious forces from the other section of the wall have beaten back the attackers. Have now actually moved in to flank and surround these Corsair Blackguards. So that's going to be an easy fight, I think. All these units pitting them in. The Corsair Blackguards are going to swiftly find themselves overwhelmed just by the sheer weight. Actually, there's a lot of quality in there as well, so it's not just a numbers thing. There's also some significant quality in there as well in terms of the Elven units. Let's see what we got over here in the center left for the defenders. A few pockets here of infantry here and there. Some Gondor infantry with 22, 18 Gondor spearmen, another unit of 15 Gondor infantry about to reform. Looks like Holy Country Enterprise moving forward with his Wardens of the White Tower, maybe trying to hold down the line here against the Witch Realm Blackguard. I think at this point the Blackguard have probably suffered enough damage that even with the AP advantage that they have over the Wardens of the White Tower, the Wardens of the White Tower will be able to beat them. What we got here? Gondor Militia now retreating from that fight. Honestly, it's a good idea. They were just going to get slaughtered there anyway. Yeah, the Witch Realm Blackguard now fleeing away from the Wardens of the White Tower, who are going to advance. Actually, the Gondor Militia are going to fall back pretty much entirely, probably because of the presence of the missiles on the other end there. But the Wardens of the White Tower are going to advance without support. And honestly, this is a bad idea. Look at this. Dol Amroth moving in with some of the Elon Halberdiers. Really strong versus infantry, a lot of AP damage. And over here, the Witch Realm Blackguard reforming. They're just going to catch this Wardens of the White Tower unit out. Look at this. It's going to be a complete envelopment. Wardens of the White Tower really want a piece of that Blackguard, though. Nonetheless, undeterred, they're going to charge forward at those Witch Realm Blackguard. But this is just an ugly situation for that unit to be in. They're really strong. This is an ace in the hole for Gondor, and it really sucks to see it be thrown away like this. Yeah, the balanced forces evenly matched. They're just getting hacked down by the Halberdiers on one end and the Blackguard on the other. I think there's actually some archer support up there as well. Yeah, significant number of Nimrodel Rangers I saw firing down. They're AP arrows, so that's a lot of AP to bring to bear against that one Wardens of the White Tower unit. You can see the Noldor Elder Nobles moving up onto the gatehouse. Oh man, they're gonna massacre those Nimrodel Rangers. Look at that guy freaking out right there. Yeah, that's not even gonna be fair at all. I see that one guy getting stabbed through a wall. The Noldor Elder Noble just coming through the wall like the friggin' murderous Kool-Aid man that he is, hacking down that Nimrodel Ranger from behind. We can see Dol Amroth now deciding to commit what remains of their reserves. Dol Amroth, Swan Knights, a couple units of them here, moving through the gap. I think there's more on the way. Yeah, indeed there is. The Trebuchet moving forward. Oh man, I wonder how much ammo this has left. This has a lot of ammo at this late point in the battle. There's no hope for the defenders. In fact, I would almost say that there's no hope now, but maybe they can pull something off. All the poor Wardens of the White Tower getting massacred by the Witch Realm Blackguard and the pressure from those Elon Halberdiers. And there goes the Gondorian general inside of the Wardens of the White Tower. Gondor now having lost a general. I don't think anyone really has a general left at this point. Maybe one or two people do. But for the most part, they've all been killed. Very bloody battle. It's always entertaining when everyone's commander dies. Let's move forward onto this end of the choke point battle between the Corsair Blackguards and literally everyone. Oh my god, where did those Blackguard go? They got butchered. So this is going to free up a lot of resources for the defenders. I don't think it's going to be enough, though. Not to fight all of the Dol Amroth elites, but it will make a difference, though, especially against the Swan Knights. Swan Knight's not very powerful. There goes the good and bad general, hacked down by the vengeful Wardens of the White Tower in the center. Easy peasy. Some more Gondor infantry looking like they came back from reforming, although this is a very bad time for the Swan Knights to arrive. Oh man, they're going to complete the encirclement here of a large number of Gondor forces. Coming out here with the Wardens of the White Tower was a big mistake. He has not done the damage that he hoped for. Still a lot of those Blackguard kicking around, and a lot of those Halberdiers as well. Yeah, the Halberdiers have barely taken any damage. In fact, I don't think they've taken a single casualty. Oh, that's ugly for the defenders. But still, the percentage is reasonably close. 5% more killed of the defenders, but 90% of the attacking armies killed. That's 5 armies down to basically 10% across the board. Very impressive. I think that just about does it. Let's move on over here. It looks like the forces of Starling and everything else from this breach section of wall are now free to move in and try and support what remains of their allies' armies. But maybe it's too little too late. If only some of those Dalian Swordmasters were still alive. A unit or two of them, I think, would be enough to tip the scales in favor of the defenders. And I want to see the defenders win. Honestly, this has been a very spirited Citadel defense so far. So we got over here some more reinforcements, some more Swan Knights moving in through this little alleyway. And look at this, there's yet more to come. We got some here with our marksmen right there, the Trebuchet, and of course, naturally, there's the General's Bodyguard and everything else that's back here. Haven Guard, a couple units up here with their Wardens. Yeah, over here in the center, things looking very bleak indeed for the forces of Gondor. We got some high elves here. An understrength unit of Elder Enemy archers charging in the battle against the dismounted Swan Knights. Oh, they're actually managing to kill a few. Surprising. Although with the addition of a second unit of Swan Knights, these few Eldar and warriors still able to fight are going to swiftly find themselves overwhelmed. More units just kind of running out of the woodwork here. Got some Gondor militia backed up by a small unit of Sindar Blade Masters. 2 Eladra Storm Raiders being thrown into the bunch. I guess the defenders are desperate at this point. They need every man they can get. Slash elf. Let's move over here. No, it's all just one big scrap at this point. Well, let's go ahead and fast forward. I think this is mostly all that remains of the defending armies. Over here, this Tier 3 marksman getting caught out by the Noldor Elder Nobles. Look at the damage that those guys did. Those Tier 3 marksmen really rely heavily on their armor, so a unit like the Noldor Elder Nobles is going to chew through them like a hot knife through butter. The Elder Nobles now getting into contact with the Halberdiers. I think this is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. The Halberdiers from the front in defensive formation, which it looks like they are going to be a big problem for the Noldor Elder Nobles. It's a lot of AP damage being thrown into those Elven units right now. Over on this end, the defenders really starting to flag. You can see some wavering, a little bit of shaking here from the Gondorian militia. Yeah, this is going to be all she wrote for these poor guys. Let's go ahead and let's fast forward just a little bit. Swan Knights just muscling their way through this line, pushing through the elves. There's really nothing here that's able to hold them back. Witch Realm Blackguard still in the fight. Somehow, 16 men left in the unit. And now that the attackers have broken through, they're going to head straight for the town center. They're just going to beeline there. Heedless of their casualties, they're going to push right through that defending line, which is going to evaporate real quickly. You can see it's just devolved into small skirmishes here. Duels between individual warriors rather than a battle of units. There goes the High Elven General. Starling's bodyguard getting pinned down by the Adelon Halberdiers. Just not able to break through. The Elder Nobles are actually not doing too bad. They've killed a lot of the Halberdiers, of course, but ultimately, with their low numbers, this is not going to be a fight that they win very easily, and certainly not one they win without support.
The enemy is no longer in command of the castle.
Over here, more and more Swan Knights pouring into the central plaza. The defenders thoroughly overwhelmed. See some routing units fleeing back to the town square. That is pretty much going to be it for the defenders. Yeah, so it's just a matter of a little bit of cleanup now, I think. So we're going to put it on 6 times. Yeah, I think actually they're going to have to kill all these units here in the center. So that it pretty much does it. All it is a cleanup operation at this point. So let's fast forward as much as we can. Yeah, those victorious attacking troops just pouring into the square. These perpetually routing units and the few men here that still have the courage to fight off the invaders, not going to do well. We've got some, the officer from a Bardian marksman unit, just a lone officer. Apparently his entire unit got massacred. Got to feel bad for him. Swan Knights just cleaning house, cleaning up all the remains of the defenders, and that is pretty much... Yeah, that's pretty much game over for them. I don't think they have anything left except for these routing units. They may have something somewhere, but... Yeah, look at these poor militia units. They're supposed to reform here, but honestly, they're just getting hacked down and not really doing anything at all. But that pretty much does it for the battle. The attackers looking like they're going to be victorious. I know, right? Oh, the attackers always win, etc. But it was close. Look at that. There's a 7% difference there with 5 armies on the battlefield. They were severely outnumbered, and their kills really reflect that. Look at that. Nearly 2,600 kills there from Starling. Nearly 2,500 from General W VPM. Good job to both of them. Holy Country Enterprise did not do as well, and I think a lot of that has to do with, one, maybe pushing forward with units that he really shouldn't have pushed forward with, like the Fountain Garden, things like that outside, exposing himself to javelins. But also Gondor's just more defensively minded in general, and he was very much playing the bulwark that keeps their positions in place. Especially early on, too. That one unit of Gondor, like, infantry just did so much damage and killed so many elves. But taking a look at the attackers, Samuel McTavish getting the most kills for his team, followed very, very closely by Boris Beetle. Stewed Fungus. Actually, no, he has the most. And then Sawbones is second, and Boris Beetle, rather, is third. Orc Hunter getting the least of the bunch, but that is to be expected. He did not commit his army right away with his allies, and it worked out, but normally that is not a strategy that I recommend that you employ, because one, your allies will get pissed off at you, and it's no fun to play with people who are just generally angry at you, and two, they will potentially get massacred, kind of like what we saw happen to the Lorien and the Umbar armies, and eventually to the Gundamad armies, but I think they lasted much longer. But in any case, I hope you guys enjoyed the replay. There will be more coming soon. Probably going to be more campaign because I love our campaign. It's so much fun. But I want to catch up on a little bit of 4th Age. But we'll see because I'm really feeling the campaign at the moment. So it'll definitely be more of that. But in any case, I've been Jordan, also known as JMonster. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Take care, everybody. Bye.